Oh, girl.
It's raining men. Hallelujah, it's raining men. Amen. I'm gonna.
Is Laura Lee's makeup line just repackaged Morphe? Hello and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a fantastic day so far because it just got better. Titties have been flying around the world. Reports of Laura Lee's eyeshadow pans falling from the sky and crashing down, destroying the very ground we walk upon, have been circulating across social media for the past week or so.
Oh, girl.
Along with that, I do have a very brief investigation for you. To do with if Laura Lee's makeup line is really just repackaged Morphe, there's a reason that I'm saying that. If you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe for beauty investigations all through the week. Let's just get straight into the video. The tea is scorching today. First of all, why don't we begin with the smashed palettes? Here are a few photographs of the pans. Now, smashed eyeshadow palettes aren't the biggest deal in the world. Eyeshadows are naturally quite soft and it is normal for them to break sometimes in transit. The reason when it can sometimes become controversial is, for example, the Nicole Guerrero palette that was done with Anastasia Beverly Hills. They actually refused to do exchanges or returns or something for smashed palettes. They were saying like, oh, you just need to repress it yourself. But when the entire palette was smashed, all 4 shades, it just come across a bit like, of course, another controversy surrounding this palette is which one is the real palette. This is something we spoke about a while ago. There's 2 completely different photographs on the internet. Laura's launch video made it look really pale and pasty, and then the videos that we're seeing elsewhere and on the Instagram are making it look really dark. So we're a bit confused about what the colours actually are. It doesn't just look like a slight difference in the lighting. It looks like there's been a filter applied to one or the other. It just doesn't look like the same palette at all. The swatches that I'm referring to are these ones posted on Trendmood's Instagram. Why don't we read a few of the comments? Whoa, it looks really flaky and crumbly. That was one comment. People hate on Laura just to hate on Laura. I swear most of them haven't even tried her products. Lol, I dare them to take a picture of swatches on a beautiful melanin infused arm. Dare them. That's what one person said because there was a lot of controversy about how it wouldn't really work for people of colour. I love the colours, but I feel like her palettes are so expensive it's not even high end. Did she just start? Just my opinion. What do you think about this? So disgusting. One of the really major issues was these eyeshadow palettes arriving smashed. There was so many comments sweeping across social media and there was mixed responses. One girl posted on Twitter, I'm so happy with Laura Lee customer service because they offered to, you know, replace my palette if I return it to them and they'll give me a full refund or something like that. There was another person that tweeted back to us saying I reported it and I wanted a refund, but Laura Lee Los Angeles told me I had to repress the pigment myself, which obviously just seems crazy. I don't know what on earth is going on here, but my giveaway is still open. If you want to enter, all the conditions are down below. 3 sets of pigments, 3 winners. I have a policy with Kuckian just because I want people to try it. We have a 14-day money-back guarantee, like no squabble. So if you order your products 14 days from the day it arrives, which is confirmed by the shipping because it's tracked, you have all of that time to return it back to us if you're not happy with it for any reason. That's completely open to the customer. Like, you can just return it if you don't like it, for example. Obviously, I'm so happy if someone buys from me, but at the same time, it's not like that's the end of it. Like, if you're not happy with the product, you can always write to us and you always have that option to return it to us. And we would obviously refund the full amount of the item. So that's the tea. That's just my perspective. And I think a lot of brands do that. So it was strange for Laura Lee's customer service for some people to say you have to fix it yourself and for other people to say we'll return it to us and we'll give you a full refund. It was a bit weird. The reason why I was suspicious about this palette being done with Morphe is Laura does have a long-term relationship with Morphe to start with. The figures that I got my hands on a while ago was that she was making $75,000 a month, so she obviously has a very strong tie with the company. At the actual launch event for Nudie Patootie, the owner of Morphe was there, the previous owner of Morphe. I think she sold quite a lot of the company, but Linda was there and she got a photograph with Laura.
What is up, you guys? I'm here at Laura's house celebrating Nudie Patootie. I'm currently wearing it on my eyes today as well because I got it a little early. It is so beautiful. I'm so excited for you, Laura. I love you.
Boom. Linda from Morphe, present at the Laura Lee party. I haven't seen her present at any other events like this. So that was just another thing that made me wonder because obviously I previously covered the Anastasia scandal with Kim Kardashian West and Mario. What on earth is happening? Today I have some juicy tea for you.
I just wanted to thank you guys for coming. I know there's so many different events and so many different beauty products and so many things you guys could all be at. So I really am grateful that you guys are in the making. Everything I've learned about makeup has come from Mario. Breaking standards and created this whole new career for yourself.
And Mario was due to do another palette with Anastasia, but instead he did one with KKW, and I was thinking that's weird because Mario's almost like an asset of ABH. Then at the launch, Anastasia, the owner, was sat next to Kim Kardashian and Mario, which made me just think, oh, boom, you know, that's it. Anastasia was making the palette because they have everything on lock. KKW was, you know, just putting their name on it, and then Mario was there, so it was like a three-way for promotion. That was my thoughts anyway. I thought they'd contracted Anastasia in to manage and make the palette for them, because when Mario's name is involved, Anastasia can't afford for something bad to go out, because they obviously had their palette with him in the past that sold really well, and if they do another in the future, they can't have his name damaged. Does that make sense? Like, I'm trying to think of examples, like Jaclyn Hill's collaboration with Becca kind of put like a bit of a smear on Jaclyn's record, even though like she didn't make the product, because the product was obviously turned out so bad and it was recalled and all that kind of stuff, and there was so much controversy. It kind of didn't just put a smear on Becca's reputation, but also Jaclyn. So I do think that's something just to keep in mind. The next thing is Laura Lee has shown that she's been completely disorganized throughout the first Cat's Pajamas palette. She really didn't seem to know what she was doing. The design of the palette really didn't seem so good. There was some emails going out customer service wise that didn't seem 100% professional, and we've covered everything that's happened. I'm not here to be shady. The ingredients list on the website was incorrect. It was also completely different to what was written on the palette. Anyway, I instantly do believe that she's violated the Federal Food, Cosmetic and Drug Act of 1938, just judging by the fact that she's displayed two completely different formulas on her website. Before we did, you know, you can double check the ones that was in my last video against this. This is different in terms of the placement of some of the ingredients, including obviously the mica in one of the formulas that we went through. So that's obviously quite serious. It's not really a game that you want to be playing. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. How are you supposed to know what the ingredients are? It's just stupid. Like, it was just idiotic. But somehow, despite all of those things that would not sell in the UK, you could not sell makeup where you didn't really know what the formula was into the UK, because you have to have the test done. Somehow Nudie Patootie was brought, just as Cat's Pajamas was, very quickly into the UK. So I have two theories about this. When you bring items into the UK, it's a complicated process. You have to pay a lot of money to big companies that will do these tests for you. It takes a lot of time. You have to be very well organized, and it also requires a lot of communication with the factory. My thinking is either Morphe was involved with that, or we obviously know the first palette was made by Killer Merch LLC, which is Jeffree Star's company, before Laura and Jeffree fell out. My thinking is it takes a long time to develop a product. From the very start of the process to the very end of the process, it took me about a year to finish my liquid lipstick tube, and that's obviously just the tube. So when you're making a palette, it isn't something that you can just make in 3 months. Like, a lot of times it does take a long time to make it. Nudie Patootie trademark was filed quite some time ago. So we're all thinking maybe this palette was actually made, the second palette was also made with Killer Merch. Maybe Laura Lee just risked it. Maybe she didn't have any other options. She needed to release a second product. She wanted to do a better job of it. It seems like she's definitely had professionals design it this time. You know, in terms of the actual design of the palette, it's much nicer than before. It seems like she's trying to completely rebrand the company. She deleted all the Cat's Pajamas pictures from the Instagram. She changed the logo. She said it's an emblem, but she's changed pretty much everything everywhere to this emblem as opposed to the logo, which is what you wouldn't do because it's very confusing. So it does just seem very like, okay, we're not too sure what's happening here. My very pessimistic theory was that this palette was actually produced again by Killer Merch, and the reason that they're all arriving smashed as opposed to Nudie Patootie was because of the end of relationship between Jeffree and Laura. Potentially she thought, well, I'm still in a business relationship, so I'll let them make my palette. But maybe Jeffree Star got his fingers in there. This is obviously just an unconfirmed conspiracy theory. Maybe Jeffree got his fingers in there and happened to have a few palettes mysteriously damaged. And when I say that, when you're shipping items, you have them in these big crates when they're finished and you're transporting them. And if you were to just drop one of those crates by like a foot, because of the weight of all the packages, you would easily have a lot of smashes without question. Obviously a change in formula can warrant that sort of thing as well, but that sort of thing can cause massive damage. I used to know someone when I was in London, and his job was specifically receiving Cadbury shipments for chocolate, and they would receive tons upon tons of chocolate, and it would come in these massive crates, and it was his job as a manager to make sure that they weren't damaged whilst the massive crates are being transported, because if they were, you could lose like £1 million worth of chocolate like that, gone. Like, it can just fail. That's just something to keep in mind. Obviously it's not, I don't think it's going to be to the same standard with Killer Merch, which is why potentially maybe that all the palettes were damaged before they were shipped. Because when items are shipped, you usually wrap them really well. For so many people to receive smash items just seems suspicious. Another thing to add onto this theory of Killer Merch LLC sabotaging the palette is we've obviously seen this video I showed earlier where the pans were just falling out of the eyeshadow palette, which obviously just looks crazy.
Oh, girl.
It's raining men. Hallelujah, it's raining men. Amen. I'm gonna.
This is something that is signature with Morphe palettes back in the day. When I say back in the day, I mean like a year and a half ago. There was always videos circulating across the internet of beauty gurus like Patrick Starr holding up a Morphe palette and like 2 of the shades would just fall out because they hadn't been glued in properly. And that's what it looks like here. It looks like the shades in Laura's palette hadn't been glued in properly. This isn't something that you commonly see in cosmetics. You don't commonly see eyeshadow pans falling out of palettes. As far as I'm aware, I've never seen it happen to an Anastasia palette. I've never seen it happen to cheap palettes that you buy from the drugstore. I've actually never really seen an eyeshadow pan falling out of anything before until Morphe, I don't think. So it was just suspicious to me that the exact same thing happened with Laura, because of course I want to know what you think about the situation. I definitely think it's one of the two. For me personally, my conspiracy theory is that either Morphe is making the palette or Jeffree is still making the palette, and either one of those two things could lead to why this sort of thing has happened. I know I've